In this video, we'll see how to connect OpenStack Manila to the NetApp data fabric. Specifically, we'll be using on-premises OpenStack and Amazon Web Services as endpoints of the data fabric, but the same examples would apply equally well to NetApp Private Storage or Microsoft Azure. Manila is the shared file systems as a service project within the OpenStack ecosystem. Manila was created by and is still led by NetApp. Manila has a new experimental feature, share replication, that allows users to create replicas of their file shares in different availability zones for fast, simple disaster recovery. When backed by clustered data on tap, Manila shares are replicated quickly and efficiently using SnapMirror. For even greater resiliency, or to support moving workloads between clouds, you can configure Manila to replicate shares to instances of NetApp's ONTAP cloud for Amazon Web Services. Let's start by reviewing the deployment environment. The on-premises primary storage is a cluster data ONTAP system on the local 10.63 subnet. The vServer is Manila primary. The remote replication or secondary storage is ONTAP Cloud running in Amazon Web Services. We can see the cluster management interface as well as the NFS data lift are on the 172.30 subnet in AWS. The vServer is Manila Secondary AWS. In Manila, the two controllers are configured in separate availability zones, so there are separate Manila config files for the control plane, the primary data zone, and the secondary zone. In the primary config file, the availability zone is set to primary, and there's one enabled share backend called Manila Primary. In the stanza where Manila Primary is defined, you can see the controller on the local subnet, and note that I've defined a replication domain called Manila DR domain. The replication domain is the set of backends that may participate in share replication relationships. Similarly, in the secondary config file, the AZ is set to AWS, and there's one enabled share backend called Manila Secondary AWS. In the corresponding stanza, the controller is on the AWS subnet, and the replication domain is again set to Manila DR domain. Using the Manila CLI, we see two share services, one for each of the availability zones we defined, primary and AWS. Starting with a clean slate of no shares, we see there is a single share type available called replication, which has its replication type set to DR, or disaster recovery. Let's create a 1 GB replicated NFS share in the primary availability zone. It becomes available quickly because we haven't set up any replicas yet. Now let's create a replica of the new share in the AWS availability zone. It too is created quickly, and it starts in the out-of-sync replication state until SnapMirror has time to create and transfer the initial snapshot. This is a new share, so the first snapshot is virtually empty and the initial transfer just takes a few seconds. Once complete, the replica state transitions to in sync. From the share details, we can see the NFS export path to the share's active replica is on the local subnet, as expected. Using the ID of the replica, let's promote the replica to be the active copy. This reverses the direction of the snap-mirror relationship between the two replicas. The promoted replica transitions through the replication change state until it becomes the active copy, and the former active replica is reported as out of sync until the reverse snap-mirror transfer is complete. Again, let's look at the share details. And now we can see the NFS share is available from the AWS subnet. The replication feature may also be driven using the Manila section of the OpenStack Horizon user interface. Using a combination of Manila and AWS APIs, one may write a script to fail cloud applications from on-premises OpenStack deployment to a disaster recovery site running in AWS. Or the same mechanism may be used to migrate applications between clouds. Note that Manila share replication operations are available to the cloud tenant so that users may develop and test their own DR scenarios without assistance from cloud admins. Thanks for watching.